kill 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 people during the course of his or her life. Thousands of people are killed, or their lives are destroyed, their families are destroyed.
4:12 a.m., Minneapolis, Minnesota. 140 secret night deliveries. Federal Command Center, a Somali diplomat under watch. Fake passports, cash transfers, fentanyl. Violence spreading across American cities. A network hidden in plain sight. Let me show you. 4,700 arrests. $310 million in fentanyl, meth, and weapons seized. The largest internal security breach ever found on U.S. soil. But the real shock wasn't the drugs, it was who was involved. Diplomats, officials, and people with full clearance, the ones trusted to protect America, were quietly helping undermine it. Hit like and stay with me, because what's coming next is something every American must hear.
I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead.
4:12 a.m., Minnesota. The streets were deserted, the houses were silent, and a sheet of winter cold hung over everything. But inside the Federal Command Room, the night was anything but calm. A giant digital map glowed red. The alarms had fallen silent, yet the threat was still shouting. For months, federal agents had been watching something they could not explain. Crime connected to a Somali network was rising everywhere. Reports poured in from hospitals, police stations, and social service offices. The numbers were frightening. Drug arrests up 312%, violent assaults up 280%, prostitution and human trafficking up 190%.
The DA says one person dies every 5 minutes from a drug overdose. The special agent in charge says these drugs taken off our streets have already saved countless lives.
That's 294 people every single day dying of an overdose or a poisoning. That's the equivalent of a 737 jetliner crashing every single day in the United States.
And the stolen money was shocking. More than $1 billion in welfare fraud had already been confirmed. Whistleblowers warned the true damage could be closer to $8 billion over the last decade. The pattern was always the same. Somalis entered the United States using false documents. They received public benefits and welfare funds. The money was then transferred out of the country. The final destination was Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda-linked terrorist group in Somalia. It was not just fraud. It was a pipeline.
Look, these Somalians have taken billions of dollars out of our country. They've taken billions and billions of dollars.
From there, drugs and weapons flowed back in. Meth and fentanyl were manufactured in China, shipped through Mexico, and smuggled into American cities by Somali gangs. Violence followed. 2 months earlier, a police cruiser was ambushed in the middle of the night. An officer was critically injured. The suspects were tied to the same network. Agents stared at the data on the wall. The pattern was unmistakable. Everything kept pointing back to one name: Rami Farah, age 48, Somali ambassador to the United States. If the intelligence was correct, a foreign diplomat was not protecting America. He was exploiting it, and the danger was about to explode. If this shocked you, share this video, comment, ready, and keep watching. The next chapter goes inside the embassy office. The deeper the investigation went, the darker it became. This was not an embassy office, it was a command hub, where money, documents, and deliveries converged with military precision. There were no cultural programs, no diplomacy, only shadows. Every week, heavy packages arrive without customs clearance. Trucks slip down the alley at 2 a.m. Lights flickered through the night. Agents counted over 140 secret deliveries in 6 months. Not one appeared in the official diplomatic log. Trash searches revealed the first layer. Shredded immigration forms, smashed SIM cards, envelopes from money transfer companies. Then investigators found something far worse. A hidden cabinet with dozens of fake passports and IDs, all tied to the same network. Some belonged to men later arrested for robbery and assault. One woman, using a false identity, collected $48,000 in welfare benefits while working at an illegal nightclub linked to trafficking. Violence followed them everywhere. Police reports exploded. Street fights outside grocery stores, knife attacks at bus stops, armed clashes in parking lots. In one small city, officers responded to 87 violent incidents in 9 months, all connected to the same group. Federal analysts finally understood. This wasn't immigration. This was infiltration. Organized, financed, and shielded from inside the system. A network growing faster than law enforcement could track. And it wasn't slowing down. It was expanding. Type yes if you want to see the moment the doors were blown open. The order came at 4:05 a.m. A single message echoed across the encrypted radio network. All units execute. Secure every target, no warnings. Armored vehicles rolled out from staging areas near the highway, their engines low and heavy. Headlights were dimmed. No sirens, only the deep rumble of diesel and the thump of helicopter blades overhead. The operation involved FBI, ICE, Homeland Security, state police, and local deputies. More than 900 federal badges were now moving with one objective: break the network before dawn. The first target was a plain house on a quiet street. No one would guess it held danger, but infrared cameras showed movement inside. When the strike team approached, a man burst from the back door carrying a rifle. A flashbang exploded on the concrete. The street lit up with white fire and smoke. The man dropped, stunned. Agents rushed in. Inside, they found thick envelopes of cash, phones wrapped in foil, and a kitchen table covered with documents. Across town, a warehouse raid revealed something bigger. Agents broke through a steel-reinforced entrance using hydraulic tools. The interior looked like a normal import business, but behind a false wall was a secret room. Inside were more than 580 pounds of narcotics, meth, fentanyl pills, and heroin, stacked in plastic bags. The value was later estimated at $22 million on the street. At the same hour, a major highway exit turned into chaos. A delivery truck tried to break through a roadblock. Tires screeched. Shots were fired into the engine block. The truck skidded sideways and slammed against a barrier. Agents pulled the driver out. The back doors were opened. Inside, duffel bags filled with weapons wrapped in cloth, serial numbers scratched away. The most violent confrontation came in an industrial yard behind a row of abandoned buildings. Two armed men were waiting on the roof, watching the road. When agents approached, muzzle flashes erupted from above. Bullets hit the pavement. Sparks flew from metal rails. Federal teams used shields, advancing step by step. A second helicopter circled overhead, its spotlight cutting through the darkness. After a tense exchange, both shooters dropped their weapons and surrendered. The final target of the morning was the embassy office. The building sat quiet, but drones showed figures moving inside. A tactical unit approached from the side. The breach charge detonated with a thunderous crack. Doors flew inward. Agents stormed the hallway. Paper, folders, and laptops were scattered across desks. In one room, a man tried to burn files in a small trash can. He was restrained before the flames spread. By 5:20 a.m., the entire sweep was complete. 41 locations raided 87 suspects, detained $3.7 million in cash, seized 580-plus pounds of narcotics, removed 120 illegal weapons recovered. No civilians were harmed, but the operation proved one thing beyond doubt. The network had not been hiding. It was operating boldly, openly, and everywhere. Do not look away. This was war before sunrise, weapons and drugs everywhere. Comment, fight back so more people see this. Even after dozens of raids before sunrise, one location remained untouched, the most sensitive and dangerous place on the map. A two-story brick building near a government district, officially listed as a Somali Commercial Coordination Office. To the public, it appeared harmless. A flag hung outside. A brass plate near the entrance displayed the embassy seal. Cars passed by without ever slowing down, but federal analysts knew the truth. This office sat outside the protection of full diplomatic immunity. It could be searched with the right authorization, and weeks of surveillance had shown something alarming. The building was not used for diplomacy. It was used for movement. At midnight, unmarked vehicles began forming a perimeter. Agents dressed in dark tactical gear quietly took positions behind parked cars. No lights, no radios, only hand signals. A drone hovered above, watching every door and window. Inside the command post, a single line of text appeared on the screen. Authorize entry. At 10:19 a.m., the breach teams moved. Two agents approached the rear service entrance with a small explosive charge. A flash, a boom, and the heavy door blew inward. The sound died quickly in the hallway. Within seconds, shields and rifles filled the corridor. A man in a suit jumped from behind a desk and ran toward a stairwell clutching a laptop. He did not make it far. Agents tackled him halfway up the steps. The laptop was still warm. Downstairs, another room had been prepared for destruction. Black smoke rose from a metal trash can. Papers burned. Hard plastic cracked under high heat. Agents rushed in and overpowered two men, one of whom held a lighter and a stack of files. The flames were smothered with a fire blanket, but even partially charred, the documents were readable. The office looked like a normal workplace. At first sight, there were printers, desks, and filing cabinets, but nothing here matched the purpose of a foreign diplomatic facility. There were no cultural materials, no policy discussions, no diplomatic notes. Instead, agents found binders of identity documents, folders labeled with U.S. cities, spreadsheets recording bank transfers, envelopes of cash cash separated by week and month. Behind a false wall, they discovered a narrow room with 7 computer servers stacked on metal shelves. Each server was connected to a satellite router and showed active data transmissions. Technicians hurried in, disconnected cables, and preserved the drives. Forensic teams would later confirm that many of those transmissions were routed through Somalia, Turkey, and the Gulf states, then into private accounts controlled by the same network. One cabinet held a line of blue folders, organized like library books. Each folder contained a list of names, thousands of names, matched to phone numbers, addresses, and benefit accounts. Some names had a check mark, others were crossed out. The labels were chilling. Arrived. Processing. Sent. On a desk lay a thick ledger under a paperweight. The pages were filled with figures, monthly totals, percentages, transfers. At the bottom of the last page was a handwritten note in clear block letters. 10% for security. Al-Shabaab. The room fell silent. Federal agents had not uncovered a simple fraud scheme. They had found a system, a financial engine that brought people into the United States, extracted money from public programs, and sent it overseas to a terrorist organization. Outside, crowds continued walking on the sidewalks. Traffic lights changed. Life looked normal. But inside the building, every file, every phone, every scrap of paper told a different story. This was not diplomacy. This was an operation, and it had just been exposed. With the embassy office secured, federal analysts finally had something they had never possessed before: a map. The files, computers, and handwritten ledgers taken from the building did not just list names. They revealed routes, contacts, warehouses, and businesses spread far beyond a single city. The first discovery was a cluster of locations operating under the same corporate identity, supposedly logistics companies and import services. In reality, many of them were empty storefronts. The front windows were dusty, the shelves inside were bare, but the bank accounts attached to these companies showed millions of dollars moving through them every year. One location in a small industrial park seemed abandoned. Yet when agents entered, they found 6 large safes bolted to the concrete floor. Inside those safes were bundles of cash totaling $1.8 million, wrapped in rubber bands and separated by week. The records showed the cash had been collected from social benefit payments, disability, childcare, housing support, food assistance, and then quietly funneled into a system of overseas transfers. Another site looked like a warehouse for used furniture. Workers arrived in old vans and unloaded chairs, tables, and mattresses. But the furniture was only a cover. Hidden inside the frames of the chairs were sealed packets of fentanyl powder. Beneath the cushions of sofas were metal tubes filled with ammunition. Each delivery blended in with the ordinary life of the neighborhood. Yet each one was part of the same pattern: move goods, hide contraband, move money. Federal teams also uncovered 2 factories labeled as nutritional supplement processors. The buildings had assembly lines, packing equipment, and shipping records, but an inspection of the machines revealed a different purpose. These were pill presses, capable of producing 100,000 tablets every 10 hours. Laboratory tests confirmed the tablets were laced with fentanyl and meth. The packaging included fake barcodes and medical labels, making the drugs look like vitamins or pain relievers. But the most shocking part of the investigation came from the digital evidence. A forensic team analyzed a series of encrypted files recovered from the embassy office. When decrypted, they showed financial transfers to Somalia, Turkey, Kenya, and the United Arab Emirates. Each transfer was broken into dozens of smaller payments to avoid detection. The path was always the same: public benefits, shell companies, international accounts, Somalia, 10% to Al-Shabaab. The total amount moved was staggering, more than $280 million in the last 5 years alone, with projections suggesting the real number could be far higher if earlier records were included. Even more concerning, the names listed in the ledger included individuals who had been involved in violent attacks. Federal cross-checking revealed a clear pattern. In the past 3 years, the network had been linked to 14 armed robberies, 9 shootings, 5 kidnappings, 3 murder investigations. And these incidents were not random acts. They were part of a system driven by profit and intimidation. Every dollar stolen from social programs helped finance the next operation. Every shipment of drugs kept the money flowing. The raids across multiple cities proved one thing: this was not a loose group of criminals. It was a coordinated enterprise with leadership, logistics, and a purpose. The map on the command center wall was no longer a mystery. The web of locations now had meaning, and every arrow pointed back to the same place: The network built under diplomatic cover. The final phase was now unavoidable. The United States would have to respond not just with arrests, but with force, and the consequences would reach far beyond one state. The raids were finished by early morning, but the real shock came later. When analysts pieced together the evidence taken from homes, warehouses, and the embassy office, the pattern became larger than anyone expected. It was not a local crime wave. It was not one state in trouble. It was something that touched the entire country. In the command center, agents pinned documents, photos, and maps on a long wall. Strings connected cities. Bank statements showed transfers across time zones. Phone logs tied numbers in one region to criminal cases in another. The dots formed into a picture. A foreign-backed criminal network operating from coast to coast. The central figure, Rami Farah, was not just helping people enter the United States illegally. He was managing a financial machine that reached into small towns, big cities, social service offices, and public benefit systems. Every time money moved, someone overseas gained power. The financial analysis was disturbing. From just the documents collected in the last 6 months, investigators found $61 million in fraudulent benefit payments, $22 million routed through shell companies, $14 million hidden in charity accounts, $9 million transferred through encrypted apps. The numbers only showed a portion of the operations. Many years had no records at all. When intelligence officials projected backward, the estimated total loss to American taxpayers was more than $8 billion over a decade. And the human cost was even worse. Hospitals reported spikes in overdoses from contaminated pills. Police reports showed violence spreading into suburbs that were once peaceful. Some neighborhoods changed almost overnight. Shopkeepers closed early. Families avoided walking after sunset. Senior citizens, the group most vulnerable to scams and drug dealers, were afraid. In one town, emergency services were called to the same block 15 times in 30 days. Fights, drug sales, forced prostitution. The people involved were often connected to the same network of names found in the embassy files. The threat was not only social, it was confrontational. 2 months earlier, a patrol officer pulling into a gas station was ambushed. Shots smashed the windshield. The officer survived, but suffered permanent injuries. The attackers vanished into the neighborhood. Now, with the new evidence collected from the raids, authorities believe those attackers were tied to the same system. By late afternoon, the situation had moved far beyond law enforcement. A secure briefing was held in the White House Situation Room. Cabinet members, intelligence chiefs, and senior advisors listened to the report. The words were direct. This is not immigration fraud. This is national security infiltration. Officials described a network that used American laws for its own gain, then sent money to a terrorist group responsible for bombings and massacres overseas. Every dollar stolen from taxpayers was another dollar that strengthened an enemy. When the meeting ended, a decision was made. Additional resources would be deployed. Arrests would continue. Foreign individuals tied to the operation would face removal, and the investigation would expand to every state with similar activity. For many Americans watching the news that night, the story felt distant. They saw headlines, but not the details. Yet the truth was simple. The danger had been close all along. It had lived in familiar neighborhoods, walked through stores, collected benefits, and sent money overseas. The war was no longer happening on another continent. It had arrived inside the United States. And now, everyone understood. This was only the beginning. When dawn broke over Minneapolis, the snow looked clean again. The streets were quiet. People went to work. Children went to school. Cars moved along the Mississippi as if nothing had ever happened. But inside the command center, agents stared at the evidence spread across the wall. Maps, documents, bank records, photos, and names. What they had uncovered was not a mystery anymore. It was a warning. The lesson is simple, and it is uncomfortable. Danger does not always arrive wearing a uniform. Sometimes it walks through the front door with a smile and a suitcase. Sometimes it carries diplomatic papers. Sometimes it speaks the language of helping the community. But behind the curtain, it steals, corrupts, and destroys. America is a generous nation, maybe the most generous on earth. Welfare programs, charity funds, social services, medical assistance, these exist to help the weak, the elderly, the sick, the struggling. But when people abuse that system, when criminals turn compassion into profit, everyone pays the price. Children lose opportunities, seniors lose care, neighborhoods lose safety, and terrorists gain power. There is a deeper lesson here. Freedom cannot defend itself. Borders cannot defend themselves. Laws cannot enforce themselves. They require people, alert, informed, unafraid, to protect them. Agents did their job before sunrise. They found the network. They stopped the money. They exposed the fraud. But the responsibility does not end with them. It belongs to all of us. Every American should know what happened, because sunlight is the best disinfectant. Silence is what allowed this network to grow. So here is the call to action. If you care about your community, share this story. If you want the investigations to continue, hit like. If you want accountability, comment. Protect America. This is not the end. This is the warning before the next chapter.